Good morning, everyone. Don't know why it would not allow me to do that background, but should. I don't know why it's not. Don't want that either. Shall we get into our Monday news? Excuse me. Okay, let's give you guys a quick rundown. Welcome back to Voices Within Sakalbi. Did you know that the United States immigration system, the court system currently has the largest backlog in its entire history? 11.3 pending cases. 11.3 people waiting for a system that doesn't have enough judges, enough staff, political will process them in anything resembling a reasonable timeline. And inside that backlog today, there's a professional soccer player named Homero Calderón, a man who played for clubs in Venezuela, Portugal, Cyprus, and Italy, a father of two American children aged 1 and 3, a husband has been in ICE detention in Ferguson, Georgia for nearly 6 months, right? His case is the human face of number that is almost too large to comprehend. Welcome back to Voices When It's a Qalbi. Again, today is August 17th, and this is your Monday Immigration Live. We're back on schedule, I would say. We're going to be doing more lives now rather than these pre-recorded news things. So let me tell you about this man, right? He had spent his days training at the gym or a soccer pitch, right? The professional soccer player built a long career playing for clubs in those countries that I mentioned, and most recently Italy. He came to the US. He has two children who are US citizens, right? In late February, he was driving a car shop in Florida when he was pulled over for speeding by the Marion County Sheriff and arrested. That traffic stop led directly to ICE involvement. He was transferred to ICE custody and has been inside the Focus in ICE processing center in Georgia ever since then, right? Nearly 6 months. He has two pending immigration processes, meaning his case is not resolved. He recently missed his daughter's first birthday. There was Daniela Molina posted a video on social media. She said, "I've been 17 years with Homero. I'd never heard him cry or ask for help like this." Okay, that's his spouse. His family says he's growing despondent, stuck in detention center with no timeline, no resolution, and no end in sight. And his children grow up without their father present, even though the father still is alive. Okay. Let me come back 1 second. sometimes getting the behind the scenes of how long it takes sometimes between pauses. Um, Now, let me give you a structural context that makes his story bigger than one man, right? As I mentioned, USCIS now stands a staggering 11.3 million pending cases. The backlog was already high before President Trump took office in 2025, but since 2025, it has increased by more than 1.6 million cases, according to analysts by the American Immigration Council, right? On top of it already historic pile, I set a monthly detention record, as I mentioned, in July. 46,000 people detained in a single month. More people detained, more cases added to the system, and the same number of immigration judges, which has meaningfully not increased, trying to process all of it. Now, here's what immigration attorney quoted in the NPR story said about what's happening to people like Homero. It's an easy way for the government to meet their quota to detain and deport individuals when they know who individuals are because they have done it in the right thing and applied for something, right? People who applied, people who showed up, who tried to do the right thing, being detained because applying created a paper trail that ICE can follow. That is a trap at the system, at the center of the backlog crisis. The system tells people apply, file, show up, follow the rules, and then uses the act of applying as a mechanism for finding and detaining them. Goodness gracious, right? So I want to hear from you. Drop in the chat. Do you know someone whose case is stuck in the backlog? Is that someone that you love? Detained, arrested, even possibly unalive, injured by ICE? Now, the urgent deadline that affects thousands of people watching today, and you need to write this down, September 15th, as I mentioned, it's just 4 weeks from today. September 15th, USCIS will punish revised edition of Form I-539, application to extend or change non-immigrant status, and Form I-765, application for employment authorization. The forms that have been revised to align with recently published final establishing a fixed time period of admission for non-immigrant academic student, exchange visitors, and representative of foreign information media. So what does that actually mean for Anissa? This is the form you use when you need to extend your current visa status. For example, extending a B1 or B2 tourist visa, or when you need to change from one non-immigrant status to another while inside the US. For example, changing from B2 tourist to a F1 student visa. If you're planning to file the I-539, you need to use the new September 15th edition. If you file an old edition after September 15th, USCIS will reject it. Your application will not be processed. You will have to refile with the correct form, potentially losing filing fees and another, backlog and wasting critical time. Now, what is Form I-765? Application for Employment Authorization. This is your work permit application, the EAD. We've spoken about this extensively. The document that allows you to legally work in the U.S. if you are deferred action, parolee, asylum pending, or any number of other categories that require EAD. This is the form you file. Okay, Form I-765. Okay. Now, same rule, new edition drops September 15th. Old edition filed after that date is going to be rejected. So what do you do right now? Option one is if you have an I-539 or I-765 that needs to be filed in the next 4 weeks, file it now using the current form before September 15th. Hi, buddy. Option two, if your filing date is September 15th, wait for the new form downloaded from the USCIS.gov on or after the 15th of September and only use that edition. Do not file the old form. Do not assume the form you downloaded 3 months ago is still current. Always go directly to USCIS.gov and download the latest edition the day you're ready to file. USCIS page is USCIS.gov/I-539 for the extension form and USCIS/I-765 for the work permit. Now, are you expecting to file the I-539 or I-765 in the next few months? Do you have a question? Which form applies to you and your current situation? Now, USCIS is mandating e-filing. I find this a little bit funny, okay? Right? Now, DHS is introducing an interim rule, final rule that allows USCIS to mandate electronic filing, e-filing for certain immigration forms. Now, what does that mean? For years, the default for most USCIS applications was paper. You printed the form, you gathered your documents, you assembled your package, you sent it via certified mail to the USCIS lockbox facility. Your receipt notice is mailed weeks later, sometimes months later. That is how most people have always done it. E-filing changes that. Under the new rule, USCIS will have the authority to require certain forms to be electronically filed to the USCIS online system. Paper submission for those design forms will not be accepted. Currently, not all USCIS forms available for e-filing. The online system handles forms but not others. Okay, some forms but not all. The new interim final rule is building the legal foundation for USCIS to expand mandatory e-filing across many forms going forward. What you need to do right now is create a USCIS online account. If you have not already done so, go to myaccount.uscis.gov, set it up, verify your identity, get familiar with the system before you need it urgently. Because here is what happens when forms become mandatory to e-file and you don't have an online account. You cannot submit your application, and the deadline in the immigration do not pause while you figure out the technology, okay? This is critically important for people who rely on attorneys or accredited representatives. Make sure your representative knows you have an online account and has linked it properly if they're filing on your behalf. The USCIS online system allows attorneys to access their clients' accounts with prior and proper authorizations. So, two things to do this week. One, go to myaccount.uscis.gov, create an account. Okay. Two, if you have a pending case, log in and check your case status right now. The system shows your where your application is processing, and it's, you can say, the most accurate real-time information available to you. Now, do you already have a USCIS online account? Let me know in the comment section. Have you used it to track a pending case? Let me know also. Oh, you scratch yourself, pumpkin. That's why your nose is red. Yeah, your nose is red. That's why you're crying. You want to report and do YouTube stuff? We're not doing so well, man. Now, 100, no, not 100, 1,000 sham marriages, 11 indicted. Know your rights, okay? Know your rights. Because it affects legitimate couples from far more than people realize. USCIS played a role in the indictment of 11 individuals for conspiring over more than a decade to orchestrate more than 1,000 sham marriages. Okay, 1,000 fraudulent marriages over a decade. 11 people are now facing federal charges. Let me explain what that basically means, right? Because understanding what fraudsters do help you understand what USCIS is looking for when they interview legitimate couples. In a typical sham marriage scheme, a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident agrees to marry a foreign national for money, sometimes thousands of dollars, right? With no intention to actually live together or build a genuine marital relationship. Right? The fraudulent couples files immigration paperwork claiming it's a real marriage. They fabricate joint financial records, shared lease agreement, or joint utility bills. They quote each other on personal details before USCIS interviews. The scheme gets prosecuted, like this one, are usually sophisticated operations where a coordinator recruits both the foreign national willing to pay the U.S. citizen willing to participate. They charge fees, they prepare fake documentations, they run multiple couples through the same system. Now here is Know Your Rights layer. What it means for you if you are in a genuine marriage-based immigration case, because fraud is so prevalent in this category. USCIS are trained to be skeptical. The interview for a marriage-based green card, Form I I-130 and I-485 is one of the most detailed and personal one the USCI conducts, right? Officers officers can ask you questions like, how did you meet? Who proposed? What does your spouse's bedroom look like? What do they eat for breakfast? Who does the laundry? Where do you keep your toothbrush? Separately in different rooms to both spouses simultaneously. What legitimate couples need to do to protect themselves from being swept into the skepticism is document relationship thoroughly and continuously, joint bank account statements, lease with both names, share utility bills, insurance policies, tax return filed jointly, photos with date stamps across multiple years and locations, evidence to travel together, communication of evidence of communication, text, screenshot, email threads, affidavits from friends and family who know you as a couple. I know this might be a lot, right? But we're living in a time where people are taking advantage of the system, and some people actually they get approved without needing to provide all of these things, right? Sometimes it depends on the officer, honestly. So the more documentation you have of genuine ongoing marital relations, the more clearly you distinguish yourself from fraud patterns that USCIS is trained to detect, right? And if you receive a request of evidence that is called the RFE on marriage-based petition, do not ignore it. Do not respond with an attorney. The RFE is USCIS asking for more proof. It is not a denial, but how you respond to it determines whether you get approved or denied. Free immigration legal help at immigrationadvocates.org. If you are in a genuine marriage-based immigration case and cannot afford an attorney, this is going to be your first call. Now, I want to chat with you. I want to hear from you in the comment sections. Are you in a marriage-based case right now with your case? Are you preparing an I-30 interview? What do you need to know? And I'll do my best to cover those in the coming episodes during Monday segments. Now, we opened today's live with 11.3 million times the backlog. Homero is inside it. Many others. The new USCIS form dropping September 15th. 539 and I-765 will update it specifically to align with the new F&J visa fixed admission period rule, which means the form's changes are directly connected to a rule change that makes the consequences of missing a deadline more severe than they have ever been. Then the e-filing mandates in the USCIS building the infrastructure to move out of its backlog processing online, which sounds efficient until you realize the people who don't have the online accounts, who don't speak English fluently, who don't have a reliable internet access, are about to face a system that assumes digital access on as the baseline, and the marriage fraud persecution. 1,000 sham marriages over a decade is part of why every legitimate couple in a marriage-based case now faces a system designed to find fraud even when it does not exist. Now, okay, the system, there's a lot. Know your rights actually means not just knowing the law, knowing the system, knowing the gaps, and knowingly how to protect yourself. I'm going to take a few more minutes and then we're going to go ahead. Now, there are things I need you to do this week, okay? One is if you have a pending I-59 or I-765 needs to be filed, check your timeline against September 15th and act accordingly. Two, go to myaccount.uscis.gov right now and create a USCIS online account if you have not already have one. Three, if you are in a marriage-based immigration case, start building your documentation file today. You might not need it, right? But the more prepared you are, the better. That is all I have to say today. We are here every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday. We're going to be going live as much as we can all those 3 days in the morning time. Until next time, I bid you farewell. Let me become a mother now. Turn to my little infant.